Good morning, Year 6, and welcome to this, our Friday maths lesson and our last maths lesson of remote learning. And I've got a special lesson for you today. You've completed all your last unit. Next week, when you're back in school, we're going to be looking at units of measure. And so I thought for today, we just do a little introduction to measurement and to different units of measure. And I also thought it would be more fun for you to carry out some investigations, really, some activities. So you will need a measuring jug, you will need some scales, like kitchen scales, you'll need a mug, you'll need a book, you'll need, what else will you need? You'll need a piece of fruit or some sort of food, you'll need your ruler, and you'll need a pencil. And you'll need your maths books to write some of these answers down in. Now, there's no correct answers for you to see on the screen or on the links page, because it all depends what you've measured. So just send your answers into your teacher and they will mark it in due course. So on with today's lesson. Let's start with total recall, shall we? First of all, 10% of 80, 25% of 20, and 12% of 200. Pause now for you to work it out. And here are your answers. So, to find 10%, we divide by 10. 80 divided by 10 is 8. Excuse me. For 25% of 20, well, we should know that 25% is the same as a quarter. So a quarter of 20, we could divide by 4, or we could halve it and halve it again. Either way, we're going to end up with the answer as 5. And then 12% of 200. You could either calculate this as finding 10%, then finding 1%, and then another 1%, and adding them together. So 10% of 200 is 10% of 200. Excuse me. 10% of 200 is 20. And 20 and 2% of 200 is 4, so 24. Or you could simply say that 12% of 100 is 12, so 12% of 200 must be double that, 24. Okay, on with today's lesson. This is just going to be an introduction to measurement or units of measure. And whatever Wilf you decide, you'll know at the end depending on what tasks you undertake. You're going to need to be resourceful today, and I hope you're going to absorb some of the information I'm going to give you at the beginning of this lesson. Key vocabulary today, we're going to talk about decimalisation, imperial measurement, and metric measurement. Then we're going to use the prefixes cent, as in centimetre, and cent is Roman for 100, century, centurion. Then we have milli. Milli is Roman for 1000, millimetre, millennium, and kilo. Kilo is a Greek word. Kilo is Greek for 1000, kilometre, kilogram. So we're going to learn about more of those a little bit later on. Measurement can be really quite tricky to get our heads around, and for good reason too. Here are just some of the units of measure you might have come across. Pause now and have a look at them. Okay, we've got kilometre, pint, yard, tonne, feet, millimetre, gallon, gram, metre, pounds and ounces, inch, kilogram, mile, litre, centimetre and millilitre. And that's just a few of the units of measure you might have seen in your experience. Now, traditionally, that's in the past, Britain used measurements based largely around Roman units of measure, specifically the number 12. So there are 12 months in a year, 12 or 24 hours in a day. There were 12 pennies in a shilling, and there were 12 inches in a foot. But the British, or we call that imperial measurement because of the British Empire, this is Britannia, the god Britannia down here with the Union flag. British or imperial measurement was more complicated than that even. So although there were 12 pennies to a shilling, there were 20 shillings to a pound, in money. When we look at fluid ounces, we have 16 fluid ounces to a pint. We have 16 ounces to a pound in weight, not a pound in money. That's written as LBS, if you ever see that. LBS means pounds. We have 14 pounds to a stone. We have 3 feet to a yard, even though it's 12 inches to a foot. There's 3 feet to a yard. And then 1,760 yards to a mile. Really pretty confusing, I'd say. Probably wasn't so confusing if you were around at that time, because that's all you would know. In the late 18th century, about 1799, during the French Revolution, France started to use a different system. They called it the metric system. Metric simply means based on the metre. So the metre unit of measure. In many ways, this system is far more easy to understand. It's much more simple. Have a look at this. So in length, 1 metre is 1 unit of measure. That's a metre ruler. Okay, centimetres, do you remember the prefix centi? Centi, there's 100 of these centimetres in 1 metre. Centimetre. Millimetre, there's 1,000 of these in 1 metre. And kilometre, there's 1,000 of these metres in a kilometre. Now, I've put this ruler down the end here just to confirm with you. This is a centimetre ruler like you'll have back home. And you can see there's 30 centimetres. In fact, it goes to 30.5 centimetres on this ruler. And then in between these small lines are all millimetres. So 1 centimetre is 10 millimetres. So 10 centimetres is 100 millimetres. 200 millimetres, 300 millimetres, and so on until you get 1,000 millimetres equaling 100 centimetres, which is the same as a metre. Okay, for fluid, 1 litre is 1 unit of measure. Here we've got a measuring jug with 1 litre on it. And millilitres just means 1,000 little bits, a litre divided into 1,000 little units. And we see it up this side, 100 millilitres or ml, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000 millilitres is 1 litre. Okay, when we look at mass or weight, we have grams. 1 unit of measure is a gram. Okay, a kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams. Now here we have gram. This is my scales here at home, and I've got kilograms here, and this is 200, this is 400, this is 600, this is 800, and there's 1 kilogram. So if this is distance between 0 and 200, this line in between must be 100 grams, and then this from 0 to 100 grams has been divided into 1, 2, 3, 4. So each one of these lines is worth 25 grams. And there are 1,000 of these grams in 1 kilogram. And if you had 1,000 kilograms, that's a ton. If someone says, oh, this weighs a ton. Well, it doesn't unless it weighs 1,000 kilograms. So this all seems much simpler. As long as you can divide and multiply by 10, 100 and 1,000, and I know you can do that, we've done that a lot in maths, you should be fine. Britain started to introduce the metric system back in the 1960s, so measurement in the UK is now simple, right? Maybe not, because we in the UK still don't completely use the metric system. Can you think of times when we don't use centimetres, kilograms, or kilometres, or millilitres and litres? Have a think now. What about in length? When do we not say maybe 1.98 metres? Oh, first of all, miles perhaps. All of our road signs are in miles. They are in America as well. We don't talk about, we don't say how many kilometres is it to Trawlfoot roundabout. We talk about it in miles. What about people's height? In height, we might say LeBron James is 6 foot 9 inches tall. So we wouldn't say he's 2 meters. And some people do, but generally we don't say that. And in America, they definitely don't say that. And so in the UK, we often don't. Volume. Now, volume is a measure of liquid or fluid. Volume, remember that word. So, when do we use the old-fashioned measurement and not litres? We still buy our milk and our beer in pints. Did you realise that? We have a pint of milk. When you buy that, the large plastic container from the supermarket, and it will be a 4-pint carton, which is about 2.29 litres. Have a look on the side of it next time you get a chance. And weight. When do we use old-fashioned weight? We also call weight mass. I'm not going to go into the technical details of why they're not quite the same thing. You'll do that when you're at secondary school. So, how about when a newborn baby is born? Most people in this country will say something like, oh, it's 7 pounds 4 ounces. We don't very often say how many kilograms a baby is. So in short, adults in this country, by not being willing to completely change from one system of measurement to another over the last 50, 60 years, have made things just as complicated for young people now as they were before decimalisation. Decimalisation means counting things in tens. But don't worry, for now we are only going to focus on the metric units of measures. Hooray! Okay, and just a little word about decimalisation. Britain in 1971 finally got rid of shillings and halfpennies and threepenny pieces and a 6 shilling coin. Got rid of all, or 6pence coin rather. Got rid of that in 1971, called Decimalisation Day. It was in February 1971, and that's when we changed to a simpler method, the method that we have now of 100 pennies to a pound, and that's it. That's as simple as that. So we've got 1p coins, 10p coins. We didn't have 20s back then, but we had 50p coins and £1 notes even. We only have £1 coins now, don't we? Okay, so on for today's task. Today your task is to carry out an investigation of measurements based on length, mass or weight and volume. Each task will give you the choice of being bronze or bronze and silver or bronze, silver and gold. In other words, you can't just do silver, you need to do bronze to be able to do silver. And similarly, if you want to do gold, you've got to do bronze, silver and gold. Okay, there's a question sheet on your links page. Just scroll down to it and you'll see 9 questions there, or 9 tasks. But I'll just talk a little bit more. It says measurement and investigation. So remember, there are 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter and there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So here's a sort of question that you might get. Okay, so here's an example of how to answer the questions. So imagine the question was, measure the width of your school book. So I've used my centimeter ruler here and I measured it as 21.2 centimeters. And if you're doing bronze, that's all you need to do. 21.2 centimeters, and you write that answer on your sheet. If you're going to go for silver, I want you to convert that 21.2 centimeters into millimeters. Now there's 10 millimeters in every centimeter, so all we have to do is do 21.2 multiplied by 10. And of course all we do is move the number one place to the left and we get 212 millimeters. Now then, if you're going to go for gold, you need to say how many meters it is. Well, it's obviously less than a meter, isn't it? So it's going to be 0 meters point something. And because there are 100 centimeters in a meter, we're going to divide by 100, so we just move the number 2 places to the right. 1, 2, and we'll have 0.212 meters. Okay, I hope that's clear. So bronze, centimetres. Silver, convert it to millimetres by multiplying by 10. Gold, convert the centimetres into a metre by dividing it by 100. You want to think about how many places you move it to the left or move it to the right. Okay, now then, your task involves either using scales or using a jug. If you've got scales and a measuring jug ready to use in your kitchen or able to use with your parents' or adults' permission, then go away and get on with the task. You don't need to carry on with this video. The video is finished for you. However, if for whatever reason you don't have scales at home or you don't have a measuring jug where you can see the numbers on the side, then stay with this video and I'll show you the examples of the ones I did and you can take the measurements. So if you've got a measuring jug or scales, goodbye and enjoy the rest of your Friday, and I'll see you all in school on Monday. If you haven't got scales and jugs, here is task 5 for you. What you could do, what I would suggest, is pause now and do tasks 1 to 4 and then come back to tasks 5 to 9. So pause now and do tasks 1 to 4. Okay, hopefully you've just joined me. I hope you completed tasks 1 to 4. This is task 5. For those of you at home, it was take an empty mug and weigh it. So I put this quite big, heavy mug from the Friends TV program. I borrowed it from my daughter. And this is what it weighed. And for a close-up, you can see what it weighed here. Can you remember I said that each one of these small lines is 25 grams? So can you work out what that weight is? Next question. Task 6 was weigh a piece of fruit. So I found a lemon. I put lemon on the scales. And this is the measurement. You can see it close up there. Tell me what that measurement is in grams. Question 7. For those of you that don't have access to a measuring jug, it was to fill a mug with liquid and then pour it into a measuring jug and take a measurement. I used coloured water, I used cold coffee here just because I thought it'd be easier to read on the scale. So here's a scale, these are millilitres, 200, quarter of a litre, so that would be 250, wouldn't it? And then see if you can work out how much that is. I'd round it to the nearest 10. I wouldn't worry about the fact that it's a little bit over that line. Question 8. So I asked you to measure out 250 grams of liquid and then to weigh it. This is the weight of 250 grams of water, 250 litres of water. Nearly said that right. 250 millilitres of water. And when you weigh it, that was the weight. So I want you to record that weight, as you see, for task 8. And this should be able to help you to answer task 9. That's the end of today's lesson. I hope you've enjoyed it. And I can't wait to see you all on Monday. Take care. Bye-bye for now.